Welcome to In Depth with Academia. I'm Richard Price, your host and the CEO of Academia.edu, here to guide you through today's fascinating dive into academic discovery. You know, every paper we discuss isn't the final say on a topic. I'm just here to present insights, to spark curiosity, and maybe help you look at the world a little differently. So with that in mind, let's dig straight in. Today, I'm exploring a highly original, definitely unusual paper authored by David G. Little. Maybe you've seen his works in the emerging field of what he calls advanced astrophysics. All right, the title's a mouthful, so bear with me. It's the tube and the gate, neural tube as the arc of Well, David G. Little is really tackling how we can reframe the neural tube, this structure you find in early human embryology, as something more than just a biological formation. Instead, he asks, could the neural tube actually be understood as a ceremonial conduit for the beginning of, incarnation? And on the flip side, could the Brahmarantra, that's the crown exit point described in yogic texts, be seen as this final gate for liberation? Now, your first thought might be, why do we care? What difference does this make? But stick with me, because Little suggests that by looking at the human body, especially the neural tube, not just anatomically, but as a kind of energetic or spiritual interface, we might open new perspectives for researchers, yogis, or honestly, anyone interested in deeper questions about mind, body, and consciousness. So what are the key arguments and findings here? And again, I'm not endorsing them, just laying out what the paper presents. All right, so the heart of the paper is this idea. The neural tube is the first conduit of incarnation. In embryology, the neural tube forms extremely early and eventually develops into the brain and spinal cord. Little, though, claims it's not just, plumbing for nerves. He views it as a sort of ceremonial channel, something that encodes the breath stream, which in his framework is a kind of life force or vow that guides embodiment. Instead of the body being a passive vessel, it's framed as an active interface, a way for, vow, breath, memory, and intention to interact in this sequence between birth and ultimately departure. Then you've got the Brahmarandra. This is described in yogic traditions as a point at the crown of the head, sometimes called the thousand-petaled lotus or the Sahasrara chakra. Little reinterprets this, saying it serves as the final gate when the journey of embodiment is complete. He uses this word vow stream to describe the arc, the full circle, of entering through the neural tube and departing through the Brahmarandra. It's like, imagine a subway, but for consciousness. So, super interesting detail. Much of this isn't sourced from lab experiments. Instead, the transmission law, as he calls it, comes from lucid dream experiences, fascia ignition, and what he describes as lineage memory. Basically, lived experiences attuned to certain traditions, filtered through a ceremonial framework. Science, at least in the conventional sense, isn't the central player. It's more about direct perception, contemplation, and embodied experimentation. For the listener, what does this mean for you? Why does a proposal like this matter outside, say, a yoga retreat or a dream workshop? Well, if nothing else, Little encourages us to reimagine the human body, not just as a physical machine, but as a vessel steeped in ceremony, meaning, and potential. It's an invitation for you to ask, could greater awareness of your body's structure, your breath, and your intentions actually change your experience of life, even in small ways? Maybe you're simply sitting at work and you become more mindful of your breath running up the spine, or you catch yourself daydreaming and start to frame those moments as gateways to deeper insight. Honestly, thinking about the body as a kind of interface, not just gears and nerves, is kind of a wild idea. I remember once someone tried to convince me that standing on your tiptoes every morning for a week would help with creative thinking. Can't say it worked, but there's something fun about approaching the ordinary with extraordinary perspectives, right? Anyway, back to the point. Just to repeat, I'm not endorsing these ideas. Instead, my hope is to show how academic research, even from fields or genres that seem far out, gives us language and metaphors for exploring our own experiences. You're not required to believe, but maybe reflecting on these ideas sparks your own curiosity or even leads to a new habit or insight you hadn't imagined. So, in wrapping up, David G. Little's paper isn't arguing for strict scientific truth as we usually think of it. Instead, it's a blueprint, a kind of us to bridge the body, mind, and intention in creative, perhaps sacred ways. As always, I present these findings neutrally to stir your own investigation. None of this is gospel. Academia is a process of exploring, reflecting, experimenting. Thanks for joining me. This was In Depth with Academia, and I'm Richard Price. Stay curious, keep questioning, and who knows, maybe the next breakthrough is just a breath away. See you next time.